tossed to the ocean floor with thousands of passengers, a woman's body was miraculously found still clutching her infant son. It was a balmy spring morning in May 1915 when the world was on the cusp of a catastrophic event that would forever alter the course of global history. The SS Lusitania, one of the most luxurious and technologically advanced ocean liners in the world, was steaming through the calm waters of the North Atlantic, carrying some of the wealthiest and most influential people of the time to a destination that promised both comfort and adventure. As I delve into the depths of history, the SS Lusitania comes alive with the whispers of its passengers, who were blissfully unaware of the impending doom that was just hours away. The grandest of these travelers was none other than Margaret Molly Brown, a Denver socialite and philanthropist known for her unwavering compassion and fiery spirit. Alongside her stood some of America's most prominent citizens: Charles Cruz, a wealthy businessman; William Thomas Stead, the influential editor of the Pall Mall Gazette; and Sir Cecil Lewis, the renowned diplomat. These esteemed individuals, along with hundreds more, were embarking on a 3,500-mile journey to Liverpool, England, in search of new trade opportunities and fresh beginnings. But amidst the excitement and anticipation, a complex web of politics and intrigue was brewing in the shadows. Germany, still reeling from its own devastating losses at sea, had recently resumed unrestricted submarine warfare against Allied shipping vessels. At the heart of this conflict stood the enigmatic figure of Kaiser Wilhelm II, the German emperor who seemed to relish the chaos that surrounded him. As tensions escalated between Berlin and London, Washington found itself caught in the crossfire, with President Woodrow Wilson struggling to balance his nation's neutrality with its obligation to protect its own merchant marines. Meanwhile, on the high seas, a British naval vessel was patrolling the waters, ever vigilant for signs of enemy activity. The SS Lusitania, now just a few miles off the coast of Ireland, was approaching the war zone, unaware that it would soon find itself at the epicenter of one of history's most infamous maritime disasters. As the morning sun rose over the Atlantic, casting its golden light upon the waves, the SS Lusitania steamed ever closer to its destination. Little did it know that in a matter of hours, it would be on the cusp of an event that would shake the very foundations of global politics and leave a lasting stain on the annals of history. The sinking of the Lusitania, which would soon shatter all pretenses of neutrality and unleash a torrent of outrage, diplomatic crises, and catastrophic consequences that would reverberate for generations to come. But as we peer into this tumultuous past, something else catches our eye. A seemingly inexplicable series of events that raises more questions than answers. The sinking of the Lusitania, a tale of tragic fate and diplomatic tensions that would draw a global superpower into the maelstrom of war. It was May 1915, and the world teetered on the brink of chaos as the Great War raged across Europe. Germany, desperate to turn the tide of the conflict, had resorted to unconventional tactics, targeting civilian vessels and shipping lanes. The Lusitania, a British-owned luxury liner, was one of the most opulent ships in the world. With its Art Nouveau grandeur and state-of-the-art engines, it was built for speed and comfort. The vessel's impressive specs made it an ideal choice for transporting high-ranking officials, royalty, and some of the wealthiest passengers on the planet. Among them was Archibald Butt, a trusted advisor to U.S. President Woodrow Wilson. The Lusitania had set sail from New York bound for Liverpool with over 1,900 souls on board. As it traversed the North Atlantic, it was spotted by German U-boats in the early hours of May 7th. The crew had been warned about Germany's growing threat, but couldn't have anticipated the fate that awaited them. At 2:15 a.m., a lookout spotted the Lusitania surrounded by 3 U-boats, U-20, U-50, and U-51. Initially, The Germans claimed they would not attack unless the ship was deemed to be carrying contraband or posing an immediate threat to the crew. However, it's now widely acknowledged that this was a ruse designed to lull the British into complacency. As the Lusitania continued to steam ahead, ignoring German warnings, the tension mounted. Just as the situation seemed contained, another U-boat appeared on the scene. U-565. Its commander received orders to fire, and the unthinkable happened. At 2:28 a.m., a massive explosion rocked the vessel, sending debris flying everywhere. Panic set in as people scrambled for lifeboats, but it was too late. The Lusitania had sunk. The crew of U-565 claimed that it fired 6 torpedoes, 2 of which hit their mark. However, the true extent of the damage remains unclear to this day. The sinking of the Lusitania was met with international outrage as news spread like wildfire across the globe. As the world watched in horror, a ship carrying some of the wealthiest and most influential people on the planet went down in cold blood. The sinking of the Lusitania marked a turning point in the United States' stance towards Germany, for better or worse. The tragedy drew the U.S. into the Great War, ultimately contributing to the downfall of Kaiser Wilhelm II and the end of the conflict. But what happened next changed everything, and what we found will shock you. The aftermath was swift and merciless as the British government launched a relentless propaganda campaign against Germany, painting it as a ruthless aggressor that would stop at nothing to crush its enemies. The German press, meanwhile, vehemently denied any involvement in the sinking, attributing it to an accident or even the work of a rogue U-boat crew. The calm before the maelstrom. May 1st, 1915, dawned like any other on the bustling port of Belfast. The Lusitania, Britain's pride and joy, lay moored in the harbor, awaiting the start of its transatlantic voyage. Captain William Turner stood on the bridge, confident in his vessel's unsinkability as he prepared for departure. Unbeknownst to him, fate had other plans. As the Lusitania set sail from Belfast, a sense of unease settled over the ship. Intelligence had been growing that Germany was preparing to unleash a devastating torpedo attack on British-registered vessels. The U-boat fleet, tasked with sinking enemy ships without warning, was becoming increasingly brazen. But the Lusitania's size and luxury made it an inviting target, and Germany knew it. The first hints of trouble arrived in the early morning hours when a wireless message from the U-boat U-20 informed Berlin that the Lusitania would be carrying valuable cargo, including gold reserves and war materials. This information, combined with the ship's speed and size, made it an irresistible prize for the German Navy. The decision was made. U-20 would intercept and destroy the Lusitania. As morning gave way to afternoon, the Lusitania sailed into the path of destruction. The German U-boat lay in wait, its crew itching to unleash their deadly payload. In a moment that would change history forever, Lieutenant Helmut Grosch spotted the British ship on his periscope and issued the order, "Attack." At 2:14 p.m., the Lusitania's starboard side was hit by a single torpedo, sending a massive shockwave through the ship. Panic quickly gave way to chaos as passengers scrambled to find lifeboats or flee the sinking ship in terror. The ship's stern began to rise into the air, and the cries of those left behind echoed through the harbor. As Captain Turner struggled to comprehend what was happening, his trusted first officer, Mr. Phillips, rushed onto the bridge with an urgent warning. "We're taking on water, sir. We have to get the lifeboats ready." But it was too late. The damage had been done. The Lusitania's hull groaned and creaked as the ship began its agonizing descent into the depths. In the midst of this carnage, a sinister reality began to emerge. Of all the ships on that fateful day, only one vessel would claim responsibility for the Lusitania's demise: U-20. Grosch's actions had been ordered by his commander, Kaiser Wilhelm II himself. This would be no mere incident. It was a brazen act of war designed to cripple Britain's ability to wage war. As night fell on May 1st, and the once mighty Lusitania slipped beneath the waves, taking over 1,000 souls with her, the British government knew that its relationship with Germany had reached a breaking point. Winston Churchill would later recall the words of Kaiser Wilhelm II. Sinking the Lusitania was a necessary evil. Necessary? The world would soon decide for itself, and it would be a reckoning unlike any other in history. The sun had long since set on the horizon as the Lusitania slipped beneath the waves, taking over 1,200 souls with her. The ship's stern rose higher and higher into the air before finally disappearing into the darkening sea. Panic-stricken passengers clung to whatever they could find, desperate to stay afloat in the icy waters. As the moments ticked by, the sounds of screams and cries for help gave way to an eerie silence. The ocean itself seemed to be holding its breath as it absorbed the tragedy. It was as if the sea had swallowed up not just the ship, but also the lives lost within her. The once majestic vessel now lay at the mercy of the merciless sea, a haunting testament to the devastating power of war. The sinking of the Lusitania sent shockwaves around the world, shattering the fragile peace that had reigned since the end of the Great War. Germany, already facing mounting pressure for its actions in the conflict, was now under intense scrutiny for this brazen attack on civilian lives. The implications were far-reaching and profound. The United States, still officially neutral, began to feel the weight of its moral obligation to act. President Wilson demanded an explanation from Germany, which refused to back down, citing the British blockade as justification. As tensions escalated, America stood at the precipice of joining the war effort on the side of the Allies. The sinking of the Lusitania proved to be a turning point, one that would propel the United States towards involvement in the conflict. The aftermath of this tragedy has left an indelible mark on history. It remains one of the most pivotal moments in leading up to World War I and its ultimate conclusion. Even today, it serves as a poignant reminder of the brutal reality of war's impact on innocent lives. We often speak of this event with reverence for the courage and sacrifice of those who perished, but also recall the profound fear that gripped Europe at the time. The story of the Lusitania has become synonymous with the horrors of war, and yet its legacy continues to unfold long after its tragic fate was sealed beneath the waves. As we stand here, centuries later, contemplating this devastating loss of life, it's impossible not to be struck by the stark realization that such events can still have profound effects on our world today. We are left with questions. What does the sinking of the Lusitania mean for us? Is it merely a footnote in history or a stark reminder of the devastating power of war? These questions echo across time, an eternal call to remember and honor those who were lost. What do you think was the most significant consequence of the Lusitania's sinking on international relations?